run it. Hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Ay, knock them out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Ay, AFC North talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. Big showdown this week, and both games in its divisional rival games, right? We are talking about, it's weird because this is almost the last week, right? The 2 weeks before. So there's AFC Showdown, then it's not, and then AFC Showdown again. But a lot of implications here on these matchups, and we're going to get it started. The poll is out between Browns and Bengals. This is a game that is interesting, right? Because Jameis Winston just got benched. DTR's there. I'm not gonna lie, my matchups weren't looking good for my defense, and I picked the Bengals defense this week, hoping that they can get some picks.
Get some. They got him last week, right?
They got him last week. Look, Geno Stone, man. Geno Stone, pick six machine. You're welcome, Ace. You're welcome. Anyway, I'm gonna start with you, Q, because I'm interested to see, as a Browns fan, right? As a guy that the team is looking to, not necessarily for this year, but next year, what do we expect, or what is the Browns looking like? Are they looking to see if DTR can be the quarterback, not in the future, but maybe the future backup? Obviously, Tillman, I know, is iffy if he's gonna come back or not in this game. So what is your expectations for this game?
Well, the Browns didn't bench Jameis because they're trying to see what they got in DTR. They benched Jameis because he was throwing too many interceptions. Yeah. And if you watch Hard Knocks, you'll see him talk about, hey, we play hard. We were, it wasn't an effort thing, it wasn't a work thing, it was we turned the ball over 6 times thing, and you're not going to win football games when you turn the ball over that much.
Yeah.
So they're hoping that DTR could hopefully turn this ball over a little bit less, lead the game in the defense's hands, and see if they can create something with the run game off of him, and see if there's something manageable, at least for these last few games out there with him. Whatever he does, if he plays well and you start thinking about him as something more than just your 5th round rookie or 5th round second year player, then cool. That's awesome. We'll see what you got there. But really, it's about cutting down the turnovers. The question is, can DTR cut down the turnovers? Because he hasn't necessarily been turnover free during his time as a quarterback in the limited time that he's played so far in his career. So that's going to be a big thing to see here. I think they're giving him a chance to see if he could cut down the turnovers. The thing about the Browns right now is that their defense has been playing pretty well for the most part in the last couple of months, right? They've had some pretty strong performances. Even the Pittsburgh game where Pittsburgh was able to score a ton of points, a lot of that was on short fields. A lot of that was after the Browns missed 2 field goals, and it was just obvious they were getting no offensive help. If they get some semblance of offensive help, I think this is a game that the Browns can win. It's going to be interesting to see how they come out and play this one, because me personally, I'd love to ruin the Bengals season. If we're the one thing standing in between them being able to make the playoffs this year, I would love to be the team that ends it. I think that would be a nice sign on Kevin Stefanski's part, that you have a culture that can kind of rally the troops enough to beat a team that's in playoff mode, right? That would be pretty impressive, right? A team that has a good quarterback, good wide receivers, that's in playoff mode, that knows they have to beat you. They're not going to be sleeping. We talk about how the effort's been better and how they haven't given up on Kevin. Well, you need to get a couple results here to back that up. And I think a game like this is a good opportunity to get a result to back it up here, right? Not letting Cincinnati sweep you. They haven't done that in a very long time. Shouldn't start right now, right? I don't think they swept us since the Browns went 0-16 way back when. So, yeah, I think they're going into this game. They're trying to win it, no doubt. I don't think they went to DTR because they think it's going to be the best thing for their draft position, and they want to just cut down these turnovers. They tried to get Jameis to cut it down. He turned it up, and that's usually what happens when you try to get Jameis to cut down the interceptions. They turn up, right? Because he starts thinking more, and when he starts thinking, he just makes bad decisions plus 1 second, right? Like it just takes that extra second that he adds on because he's processing more. But yeah, I think this week would be interesting. I think the Browns are going to win this one. I don't see the Bengals sweeping us this year. Kind of a similar reason I didn't see the Browns beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. That's something that hasn't been done in a while. You got to be a certain type of team, like a certain quality of team to be able to pull something off like that, especially in division. And that Browns team was not good enough to be the first team to sweep Pittsburgh in God knows how long. And this Cincinnati Bengals team just isn't, I don't feel like they're good enough to pull off that feat. I think Miles is going to have a pretty good game. They've been having all kind of issues with their tackle positions in Cincinnati. I think the Browns interior has been really, really strong, right? Mike Hall has been a gem of a draft pick so far in like the limited games that he's played. Did some real good stuff against Trey Smith last week. So I think you'll see something there from this team. I think the defense is going to show up. The question is, how much are you going to get from your offense and how much are you going to need from your offense, right? But if they can limit the turnovers, I think they'll have a shot to win this game. And if it's close, I'm going to take the Browns in this one just because it's just really hard to sweep a team in the AFC North. And I don't think the Bengals are that quality of team this year to just give them the benefit of the doubt they're going to sweep somebody.
Ace.
Yeah, I think with this one, I actually, as crazy as this kind of sounds, especially with the Bengals coming off of a game where they just got, they had the Will Levis game, Mason Rudolph, they were able to generate a lot of turnovers. I actually was worried more so about Jameis Winston because Jameis Winston is a guy that's going to take deep shots and take them when they're there. And that's where the Bengals have kind of suffered on defense. Like they've given up the big play, especially when people are willing to take the chance to do it. And so I actually thought that Jameis was going to present a lot of problems from us. Now, obviously, he can't be turning the ball over. That's going to help us. But this was still a team that, despite 5 turnovers in that game, they only won by 10 points to the Titans. Like Titans put up 27 points against them in that game, and it should have been a blowout. With them going to DTR, the last time I saw DTR in the Bengals game, it was not a good performance for him whatsoever. We'll see if he's changed since then when it comes to that. I do think that the Browns are going to get up for this game, like Quincy is saying, because it's something where they have something to kind of try to win for in terms of trying to ruin the Bengals season. I think the Bengals season is already ruined. I mean, especially with Joe Burrow and stuff like that, it's not a lot that they'll make it. But this is a game that they do need to win. It is at Paycor. So I think that bodes well for them. I think Joe Burrow, the fact that he was pissed off at the last game, I think that means that he's going to try to come out here in this one and try to establish himself. Jamar Chase is going for the Triple Crown, so he's going to be going for those guys. T. Higgins is trying to do some stuff. So this is a Bengals offense. I know that the Browns have pretty much had their number majority of the past couple of seasons, but I think this Bengals offense is playing really well right now. The defense is going to be the problem. So I think if the Browns want to win this one, they're going to have to attack the defense. If the goal is to try to slow down this Bengals offense, I think that they're decent at doing that. I just don't know if you're going to be able to stop them with the trajectory that they're on this season, with Joe Burrow playing at an MVP level, Jamar Chase playing as like the number 1 receiver in the league. T. Higgins is doing this thing. Chase Brown is doing this thing in the run game. Offense isn't an issue for this team. It's the defense. So I think if the Browns do find a way to win this game, it's going to be exploiting that defense like everybody else has been able to do. And I'm not sure DTR can do that.
Yeah, I don't think the plan should be to try to score a ton of points on the Bengals. Look, I know you make the point that Joe Burrow's been playing well and he's doing well. So is Jamar Chase. But I mean, that's happened before, and you've been able to have good games against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's been on a hot streak, and then you assume, he's pissed off because something went wrong the week before, and then he puts up 17 points the week after. So the Bengals offense, as good as it is, does have the tendency to be inconsistent, especially against Cleveland. The Browns have DBs that match up against, especially Jamar Chase, much better than anybody in the league. And then Myles Garrett is still a problem that the Bengals haven't really figured to solve. So if you can go, Joe Burrow, he's going to be so amazing, that's going to be so hard for the Browns to stop. You just got to score more points than them. But I can counter that with like, hey, historically, the Bengals have not been able to do much against Myles, and that's been what's limited Joe Burrow's success against the Cleveland Browns. even in seasons where the Bengals are playing, quite frankly, way better football than they're playing right now. So I wouldn't count out the fact that the Browns defense can limit the score here against Cincinnati, and you're just simply not going to outshoot Cincinnati with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That just can't be your game plan going into this game, right? You're not going to, if you let the Bengals score 30, they're going to win this game because you're not going to put up 40. No matter how bad that defense is, you're not going to outrun them in a game like that. So, you know, I get the point that Ace is saying that the Bengals are on a hot streak. The offense has been playing really well, but you just can't bank on, we're just going to attack this defense and try to outshoot them. Even if Jameis was in there, you just can't bank on that, especially when your strength of your team is not offense, and you certainly don't have the same weapons that the Bengals have.
Yes, yeah. One thing I will say is, I think they're somewhat there. I think the problem will be if I agree with Q, if the Browns come here and try to push the ball too much. It's not that you cannot do that against the Bengals, but it's like, and a guy at DTR that hasn't had a lot of starts and is coming into his first start in a while.
You got the Eagles this game, right? Like 10, like a lot of 10, 15 play possessions, right?
Yeah, you had to, exactly. You had to basically ease him up. This is a week that you're running it. This is a week that, in my opinion, Stefanski needs to tap down, and whatever he was doing in the past couple of years, that it didn't matter if you had Nick Chubb or not, you're running the ball better. I understand that the O-line is not the same as you used to have before, but usually the O-lines are better in the running game, right? They feel more comfortable pushing guys forward. This is a game that's what I expect for the Browns. Can they run the ball? Can they establish the ball? I'm not saying here gash, right? Like, I'm not expecting that they haven't been efficient running the ball and now all of a sudden they're just going to be great. But utilize that position. The DTR has a little bit more movement in his legs, right? And try to create some running, some gains in the running game. Then play action and somewhat easier passes for DTR. I also agree here, I guess, a little bit also with Q. The defense for Cleveland has been the lifeline. Even after Jameis Winston was vomiting over the game against Kansas City, it wasn't like that defense. Like it would have been easy for that defense to just lay down. Like, okay, well, whatever. We didn't winning with this guy doing what he's doing, right? DTR King, he wasn't that much better. No, they kept playing hard, right? They kept them in the game. They only lost by 14, which 14 is huge in the NFL, quote unquote, 2 touchdowns, right? But it was a hard-fought game. Again, after, I believe the Browns ended up having like 5 turnovers total in that game. 6. So, yeah, if the Bengals can produce that level of turnovers, yeah, I think it could have the potential blow. I just think Stefanski is going to control DTR, and the offense is going to say, like, look, we're going to play the possession games. We're going to try to be clean. We're going to try to run. And, yeah, if Burrow comes here and beats our defense, okay, cool. Because that's their strength against our strength. I just think the Bengals are up and down. They will come one week, and nobody can stop the Bengals that week. Like, doesn't matter. They throw anything gives. I don't know if they're going to do that against the Browns. It should be a fun game in that side of the field. I think the other side is whatever. I don't know what to expect when the Browns are offense against the Bengals defense. But on the other side, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun matchups between the Bengals offense and the Browns defense. I think I'm gonna go because the desperation that this team has. I can see how this is a game that Zach has to say all hands on deck. We're gonna go for 4th down if we need to go. This is a game that I'm gonna go Bengals by 6. I think it's gonna be tight. I don't think there's gonna be any blowouts. I think Bengals by 6.
Real quick, Ace, who's playing left tackle for you guys? Because I see Orlando Brown's on the injury report with the fibula.
So still gonna be Cody Ford.
I think
he's on the injury report too.
Is he?
Left tackle is Cochran.
Who, Cochran?
I mean, we gave up 1 sack last week. I mean, the Titans don't have a Myles Garrett. But
yeah, I mean, that's a different world, right?
But I will say Amarius Mims is playing really good. But you guys, I would expect you guys to move him on Cochran. I wouldn't expect you guys
Well,
to just only
Miles
put him
comes
on
from the left side anyway, right? Miles usually comes from the
Well,
left.
even if a rookie's playing good, it's a rookie versus Miles. It's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it could be a really good player rookie.
He has been now. I don't know how many snaps Miles went up against him last game, but he blanked Miles the last time that they played against each other, and that's the first tackle that's ever done that for the Bengals against Miles Garrett.
That was a more early season, I think, when Miles was still coming back from that Achilles injury that he had in the offseason. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it. Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't bank on Marius Mims being able to shut down. Like, we just saw what Miles, what he got, like 3 off of like a really good tackle, I think in Denver or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, that tackle situation is a little bit concerning too for the Bengals. But the Browns also have what Emerson's going to be on the injury report with the concussion, so we'll see what happens, man.
Jared.
Yeah, so both defenses in this situation haven't played well when it comes to the Bengals at home, 28th in total defense, Browns on the road, 25th in total defense. So, I mean, both offenses might have a little bit of a built-in advantage there. And if I have to go with what offense I think is going to do better, I'm obviously going to pick Cincinnati in the situation just because I understand that you had to make the move and go to DTR. I mean, if anybody understands and is totally okay with James Winston not playing it, it is me. So I don't gotta listen to this anymore. But yeah, when it comes to, you're playing a late round pick who was a rookie last year, hasn't really played a ton of snaps. Like, I think that there's just built-in disadvantages for the Browns. But I absolutely agree in the fact that their game plan isn't going to be, all right, let's try to win a shootout with the Bengals. I mean, they're going to do all they can to limit the point scoring, because in a game where you're playing Joe Burrow and you have Dorian Thompson-Robinson, that's the game that you got to play. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a matchup that's gone back and forth over the last who knows how long. And, Q pointed out there hasn't been a sweep of the Browns in almost a decade. So, I'm not going to be necessarily surprised by the result just because we know how this division goes. I'm going to lean Cincinnati just because they have, the more firepower offensively. And I think that if that's what it comes down to, that's what I'm going to lean on. But at the same time, we've talked about the Bengals having that ability to put up points this season. And even in games that they have put up points, it hasn't necessarily been successful because their defense hasn't been able to stop anybody. But in this case, if they put up, if they get to 20 points, I think that they win, just because I don't think that Cleveland's going to be able to do much offensively. So I'll lean Cincinnati, but won't be, like blown away necessarily if the Browns.
If the Bengals lose a shootout to the Browns this year, they
something's wrong.
Fire Lou Anarumo right at the
Fire him before the game's even over, bro. If DTR is out there,
fire him or fire every veteran on the defensive side of the ball, right? Because that just, if you elevate DTR to Joe Burrow like offensive output, yeah, you gotta just make some decisions that night at Paul Brown Stadium that some people's key cards just ain't gonna work come Monday morning, because that would be ridiculous.
Okay, we have 2 super chats here. One from Baldigar. Shout out to you, big super chat
Thank
here.
you.
Love the show as always. My prediction: Ravens win out. Take 3, the 3rd seed, probably face Denver again. Love the show. Keep it up, boys. Sorry, Jared, but we splitting this series. Don't want to see y'all in the playoffs, though. Y'all the only one I'm worried about.
I would laugh very hard if the Ravens did get the 3 seed and then Bo Nix just waltzes into Denver and avenges that horrible performance that they had earlier in the year and wins. That would be almost as good if the Steelers would beat them in the playoffs. I'd be very happy with that.
Right. And Bo Nix, okay.
Yeah.
The one idiot play in that scenario though, as the Texans.
If they were the 5 seed, they would play Houston. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not an embarrassing L,
Right.
So right now, I remember what you guys said. Well, not you guys. I said I think the Ravens and Steelers are gonna be 3-6. I said one is gonna be the 3 that's out, because I think Denver's not gonna win them all, and the Chargers just. I thought they were gonna beat. I thought they were gonna win out their final games. So that being said, I think.
Yeah, I think whoever
Last-
The
doesn't win,
Chargers
then
violently remind me every year that they're the fucking Chargers. Like there was
Right.
a point this year on like they might be one of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
You see that run game, and they got John Harbaugh, that defense, and then they go ahead and go do something like, "Hey man, let's lose to Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers." When they
by a
absolutely
lot.
cannot
It wasn't
win,
even close.
right? Yeah, and it's like, all right, I don't know who this Chargers team is. I'm not betting on them in the first round.
Yeah, Chargers right now are the 7th seed playing Buffalo in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Or
It's a tough draw for a 7 seed. Like that's a really talented 7 seed, right? With a lot of good players, a lot of veteran players, but it's just the Chargers. So like even if they go up 20 on the Bills, you think, man.
they also can't run the ball right now since J.K. Dobbins got hurt. Right now, since Dobbins got hurt, they average the fewest rush attempts per game and the fewest rushing yards per game. Like they just can't do anything since he got hurt.
Crazy that he didn't build a more robust run game than losing the most injury-prone running back of like the last 5 years.
Their backup is Gus, but Gus is
that's my thing. Like all Roman did was like, yeah, let me just sign on my old Ravens dudes.
That's what I'm saying. Like
dude.
you didn't add one extra dude. You're like, nah, let's just get the old Ravens.
I think they drafted that from Troy. Was it
you're talking about Blake Corum?
No.
Blake Corum went to the
he went to the Rams.
Okay.
I think that's his name. Kamani Vidal. He's a rookie. I think it's like the 5th round or something. But
let me tell you,
that's not moving the needle.
If there's one team that's about to go ham in the 3rd and 4th round of this draft, it's about to be the Chargers.
Yeah,
they getting every single running back that falls down there.
Yep. Yeah. Last week for Charger was Gus Edwards 8 carries, Kamani Vidal 3 carries.
Jeez.
They lost 40-17 to the Buccaneers.
How do you plan so much of your game plan around running the ball and then like you can't withstand one injury at the position? That's such
not great.
That's such bad roster building right there.
Not great.
Okay, so here the 188 says, Sonny, you can throw record streaks and past games out the window. All I know that this game, those Bruins are coming out at M&T Bank Stadium. This is gonna be a good one. By the way, the fanbo here, Bengals 79, Browns 21.
There you go.
So while I create the next poll, this obviously there's gonna be a good game Saturday, Ravens Steelers. For the division-ish, right? Because the Steelers, in theory, can drop this, and if they win the last 2, they still win the division.
Right.
For those of you that are thinking like how the records and the tiebreakers are set up, if the Steelers happen to lose, the Chiefs,
Steelers last year, the Chiefs and the Bengals. So
okay,
yeah, so that's important to know. That doesn't matter if the Ravens win this game, the Ravens have to wait for the Steelers to lose at least one more, and obviously they cannot drop any. Go ahead.
I know. I'm just on ESPN, and like the first thing that pops up is like somebody said, "Does Mike Tomlin need a deep playoff run to keep his job?" Who is asking this question? Like,
I think that for most Steelers fans, I don't even think you need a deep playoff run. Like if you win a playoff game, I'm happy.
Wait. But as a Steelers fan,
lose out and lose that playoff game. He's not getting fired.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he's not gonna get fired.
Okay,
no,
exactly.
he's not going anywhere. He just signed a 3-year extension. He's not going anywhere. But
so why is the first video like? Why is ESPN even talking about that?
Bro, all that TV network has become is loud people yelling at each other with the occasional smart person who gets
3 seed in the AFC right now. Why are we asking? Does he need whatever to keep his? He's not on the hot seat at all.
Not even in the slightest.
No. Anyway, so this is gonna be a good matchup. A game where last game went down to the wire. Right, Ravens missed a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Then Justice Field on a 4th and 1. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Jared. Converted that 4th and 1. Well, not Justice Field. Actually, it was Najee.
Yeah, he ran it on like
Ravens
3rd. He ran it on like 3rd and 7. Came up a little bit. He slid a little bit short, and then everybody kind of banked on the fact that he was going to keep it again. He gave it to Najee, and then they got the first down.
So, which by the way was hilarious that he slid down. As all they need is a first down. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna slide here.
It worked against Cincinnati.
Hey, it's a two-way street though. You want your quarterback to slide before contact. That's an instinct that they have to learn. And like that's not gonna be I gotta process it out and see if I'm gonna slide. It's like, hey, bro, sometimes he's gonna slide when it's not convenient, and you gotta be okay with that.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, I'll start with Q and Ace. Q, what are your thoughts about this game?
It's gonna be a bloodbath, right? Like this projects to be a bloodbath between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Like both teams can come in the week before and score 40 points, and this shit's gonna be under 20 for both teams, right? Like last time it was 18-16. This should be a low scoring game. I think one of the key differences is I thought Pittsburgh was running the ball a little bit better coming into that first game versus the Baltimore Ravens, but the Ravens haven't been running the ball especially great over the last few weeks either. Like it seems like the Derrick Henry stuff has slowed down. Remember, he was at a pace for like 2,000, right? Like Adrian Peterson type numbers when he won the MVP, and now he's on pace for a really good season for Derrick Henry, which not bad, but certainly has slowed down a bit. I wonder how that dynamic is going to change the nature of this game since both teams aren't running the ball as efficiently as they once were. I mean, Najee's numbers have completely, like, there was one point where he was at 6.6 yards per carry, right, Jared? And then he dropped
a nice little stretch.
Yeah, and then he dropped all the way to like 3.9, and I'm like, oh, he got them jeans back on, right? Like he put the jeans and the boots back on. Like Najee got them Timbs on running. So it's going to be interesting to see how that changes the dynamic here. I can't imagine the Ravens allow themselves to get swept by the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Like that is a tough pill for me to swallow here, especially with how well the Ravens played last week against the Giants. Though I can't take shit from that, dude. Like, you see the Hard Knocks episode? They spent 2 minutes on that Ravens Giants game. They were like, "Yeah, well, you knew what it was gonna be." Right?
I haven't watched the episode yet, but I can imagine.
Show Lamar just like push some poor DB on his ass, and it was like, all right, guys, that's enough. Let's go on to storyline number 2 here for the week. But I think Pittsburgh is the better team this year, and that's where I struggle with this, right? Like Pittsburgh just has played more consistent, better football when they've needed to than Baltimore, who's a more talented team, but I don't think they're as reliable as you would want them to be because there's just been a couple games where they've dropped not duds, but not as a strong performance, especially from Lamar, as you would expect. That's another question in this game. Lamar Jackson, and like I think it's a thing. Like he doesn't play particularly well against Pittsburgh for whatever reason, right? Like last time he didn't play particularly well. He threw 5 touchdowns. I think he did some similar shit against the Bengals before he played the Steelers, where he looked incredible versus the Bengals, and then he like looked unmatched. Like he was the MVP after the Bengals game, and then he played Pittsburgh, and it's been Josh Allen's MVP ever since then. So I don't know if I could trust the Ravens. I think they should win, but I don't trust them to win. And because I don't trust them to win, yuck, gross. I'm going with Pittsburgh this week.
By the way, let me add this before I go to you, Ace. George Pickens hasn't practiced.
If George don't play, I'm going with the Ravens.
Deshaun Elliott hasn't practiced. Dante Jackson hasn't practiced so far. I mean, still a couple days before.
Steelers missing a corner. Y'all got no wide receivers. I'm not too worried about that.
TJ Watt went back to practice.
Watt and Pickens both did extensive work on the side. Like they were listed as DNPs, but they were getting work in. My guess is they're both going to play.
And I'm just going to point this out, man. Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin, if there's one common trait that you can like align through all of the Pittsburgh Mike Tomlin teams, they got a flair for dramatics. Right, like they are melodramatic. I think that's why Russ works there, because Russ is melodramatic too. And I'm like, oh yeah, like he right at home there with Mike Tomlin, melodramatic ass. Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger. And look, this got melodrama written all over it. They gonna act like George Pickens not gonna play. It's a game time decision. He gonna play in this game, right? Like this is the whole reason he didn't play versus Cleveland, right? Like because they were keeping him ready for this one. And it's same thing with TJ Watt, who has also made himself quite melodramatic over the last few years, right? Like he's definitely going to come out there, play. Maybe he shows up with like his brother's brace on or something like that, or like maybe a brace, so you could point to it in the broadcast, and he's gonna play well. Everyone's going, oh, look at it, it's the defensive player of the year, and that's why he won that. Well, that's why he wins these awards, because he understands that you got to be good, but you also got to provide the people with something to write about, right? And that's what Pittsburgh does really well. They give you those narratives well. So yeah, I expect both those guys to play. I would be shocked if like they didn't. Just
by the way, the line is -6, which I think is pretty high for games that basically go always 3 points or less.
Yeah,
and y'all ain't got no kicker, and they got a good kicker. Like y'all just got unreliable written all over the Ravens right now. Like this good team, really talented, but like just all the unreliable things. You got all kind of check engine lights that pop up that make me worried about drag racing in that motherfucker.
I'm sprinting to bet Steelers +6. Like as we speak, I'm doing it. That's hilarious.
That's the line, right? In all the games, doesn't matter. Steelers,
that is the dumbest thing you could do is say, oh, it's so dumb. Yeah, I'll take that.
Go ahead, Ace.
Look, bro, Lamar hasn't beat the Steelers since Sicko Mode was released, dog. I don't know.
Damn.
Ravens
is that real?
Ravens have lost 9 out of
Mo Bamba or Sicko Mode?
Like, bro, I don't.
Shaq West was relevant.
I don't know if the Ravens have what it takes to beat the Steelers right now, because I haven't seen it. This has to be the game for them. We talked about them getting over the hump with certain things in the playoffs. I think that this is a regular season hump that they need to get past, which is beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like the last couple of Pittsburgh Steelers teams have not been good. And this is a really good Pittsburgh Steelers team that Lamar and them are facing. I just don't know if I can confidently say it. The only thing, get ready, Steelers Nation, because you guys got mad at me last week, even though you only scored 13 or whatever this week without him. The biggest factor is George Pickens not being in this game. Now, how much of a factor? Because this could be a defensive bloodbath. That's very true. But George Pickens is that one guy that's going to get you that 7 that you need when you need it at one point. Even if it's just that 7 that wins the game, George Pickens is the guy to do it. However, I don't know, man. After, yes, he had the Jackson 5. They just beat the crap out of the Giants. Can they beat the Steelers, though? You got to be able to do it. It's at your home place. It's at M&T. You've got Lamar playing at an MVP level. There's really not any excuses for them to not be able to pull this one off. You're trying to win the North. Everything that you need points to you saying you have to win this game if you're Baltimore, right? Seeding purposes, all of that. And I think that you need to prove to yourself at this point that you can beat the Steelers. And I've seen what that looks like before, like the Steelers and the Bengals back in the Andy Dalton era, that we just couldn't beat them. And then we had the Corvette game, and that surprisingly was the time that we beat them. But you have to be able to show and prove to yourself that you can beat them. The last thing you want to see is the Steelers in the locker room, because they do it after every time they beat you at your place, playing take over your trap in M&T. That is not a something that you want to see happening on your home field. And it's going to be on Hard Knocks. And this is on Hard Knocks.
Because they've waited. They didn't do it against the Browns. I was like, okay, they waiting for the big one to get that shit off, right? They don't want to get it off on some light. They like, nah. We see.
Oh, man. Everything in my gut right now tells me that the Steelers are going to win this game, bro. They're going to find a way to somehow win this game. But I think Baltimore, if you want to make a statement, obviously you want to make a statement in the playoffs, but I think you have to make a statement here. If we really want to be the AFC North champions, we really want to win this division, it goes through Pittsburgh right now. I don't know. So with the TJ Watt situation, Jared, is it 50-50 that he's going to play or he's playing?
I feel like it's 70-30. He talked about it after the game where he's like, I twisted my ankle. They did all the X-ray stuff.
Okay, it's just okay. No,
that's not show up there with the boot on, play with the Tim on, and
he's not. All right, TJ's not Ben Roethlisberger where he's going to go out of his way to make it as blatantly relax.
You say that, Jared? Watch him have red tape all over. That ain't part of none of the color schemes Pittsburgh got. You got the yellow one on. Okay, yeah, we see it, TJ.
I don't trust Justin Tucker right now. I'm going Pittsburgh, bro. I think it's a close game. I think wrongly last time I predicted it to be a high scoring game. I don't think it's high scoring.
So
I think that Pittsburgh edges this one out, and this is kind of the defining one for them that wins them the North. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh.
Before
And also, like, to add to your point, Ace, the Ravens have something to prove, but like Lamar got something to prove, right?
Yeah.
Because we can't keep watching them flop in these big games. Like now it's to the point to where even if you do it in the regular season, people like see right with him. And like that's not always been the case. Lamar has won a lot of big games in the regular season, but it's just the perception of it. And especially when it comes to division games, those are kind of like big regular season game plays. As close as you get in regular season to a playoff game, especially these kind of circumstances.
Yep.
And if he loses a game again and plays bad in the game again, that to everybody feels like a playoff game, not necessarily that it is. That's just, he can't afford to keep doing that. So he has to show like, hey, this is not who he is. Somebody in chat pointed out, shout out to the dude in chat, this is the first time he's played Pittsburgh at home in 4 years. Yep. He's got to show that some of these trends ain't saying what we think it's saying. And a big performance this week would go a long way in doing that, obviously coupled with the playoff run in the January.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So before the last time the Steelers lost in Baltimore, it was Robert Griffin III against Duck Hodges to close out 2019. So it's been a minute. It's pretty crazy.
Robert Griffin Jr. lost his job at ESPN. Like
this guy is
he had a whole run at ESPN and then lost his job since then. And like he played another year after that game, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, I think you're still the backup there. Yeah,
that was what, 2019?
Yeah, it was the year before COVID because it was Ben's injury year, and then came back the next year, and obviously the Steelers played well, but they beat Cincy, started 11-0, and that's the last time they played Lamar in Baltimore was the 2020 season, and that game, I mean, it wasn't a great game for Lamar. Robert Spillane had the pick six that game. Lamar lost a fumble. It was a low-scoring game, which, by the way, go ahead. Like I said, bet Steelers plus 6.5 on FanDuel right now, and also take an under if you want to tease it up to like under 48.5. Just do a little quick same-game parlay and make money. You're welcome in advance for that.
Bro, was Zach Orr playing?
You know what? Look up Zach Orr's playing career.
Oh my god!
So somebody in the chat. I'll look it up right now.
Zach Orr had to be playing, bro.
No,
Zach Orr had to be playing.
So the Ravens had lost 9 of the last 10 against the Steelers. That is the
9 of the last 10.
Damn, as much hell as we gave Joe Burrow about his splits versus the Browns, dog. This is crazy.
This is confirmed, by the way, Zach Orr was not playing. He was done in 2016. Yes. But yeah, the last time the game that the Steelers lost to the Ravens, I think it was it Anthony Wright that was the quarterback in Pittsburgh 2 years ago?
Oh my God, Anthony Wright?
Yeah, because Pickett got hurt in that game, and Trubisky finished it out, and Lamar wasn't playing, but whoever there.
I forgot about him. He played at Oregon, right?
That's like early 2000s.
Well, both Pickett and Huntley got hurt in that game in Pittsburgh, so Trubisky and Wright finished out the game, and the Ravens just ran all over Pittsburgh. So, I mean, the quarterbacks weren't much of a factor either way. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the last time, like, of the 9 of those. The one out of those 10 that the Ravens won, that was the game.
So. That's the version of Gus Edwards that Jim Harbaugh thought he was getting.
Gus Edwards had a big game that day. Anthony, somebody in the chat right is Anthony Brown, not Anthony Wright.
Anthony Brown.
Anthony Wright is like Anthony Wright played quarterback for the Ravens. So when you said that, I was like, bro, that's like early 2000s.
Wait,
early 2000s.
The Air Force.
Anthony Wright. He was on the Bengals too, but he was on the Ravens.
We drafted him as a 7th round pick.
This dude played in the Bikey era. Okay, that's like
I was
like, bro, have they not beat them since like?
I got my Ravens Anthony's mixed up, so my apologies.
My man backed up Quincy Carter.
But in terms of what Pittsburgh needs to do, it's gonna be. By the way, I talked about this yesterday. Ace wasn't here. The utter woke nonsense taking place with putting this game on a Saturday on Fox, throw it out the window. It's horrible stuff. But
what would happen to Jarrett if after his career, Jameis Winston becomes a successful broadcaster? And
I
when
don't
he
think.
does Steelers
No.
things.
If you want Jared to get annoyed by Jameis Winston, let him become the next disciple of Mike Tomlin and then take over for the
I don't need
Steelers.
that.
And then he got to listen to Jameis Winston coach press conferences, so he don't got to back none of this shit up. Oh yeah,
I don't think I have to worry about Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Jameis Winston. So I think that we're okay.
NBDO
Hey, you joke.
coach.
You joke. I am in the firm belief that Jameis Winston would end up being a good coach if he tried. Because his problem is he
very well
can't
could
execute
be.
none of the shit he tries, but the shit he tries is pretty impressive. So
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Coaches don't play, you know.
Yeah.
He
There
very well
was
could
no
be.
one more happier about the DTR announcement than Jared.
That's
I know
correct.
Jared was just like,
That's correct. That's
Until
correct.
he figure out, hey, look, get Jordan Al Michaels on that booth. Jameis Winston, we already got Ryan Fitzpatrick. They collected him like Infinity
Bro,
got.
can you imagine Al Michaels calling a game with Jameis Winston? I would pay pay-per-view type money to watch.
You gotta have Jameis as a sideline reporter. You can't have him have a live mic the whole game. Right? Like you gotta cut to Jameis. You can't. You gotta contain that, right? You just can't have raw uncut Jameis. Like
so good.
Anyway.
Yeah, in terms of what I think it's gonna be Steelers Ravens. It's gonna be low scoring. It's gonna be whatever the weather is supposed to be in Baltimore. It's probably gonna be raining because every time they have a late season game, it's always cold and raining and ugly. So it's gonna come down to, are the Steelers gonna be able to have any semblance of a ground game, because they didn't have one against Philadelphia. If Pickens plays, you're gonna be able to hit a couple chunk plays down the field to him. Maybe Mike Williams as well. They've tried to do that a little bit more. Did it against Cleveland. Didn't see it too much against Philadelphia. We talked about it yesterday on the recap show, where it's a lot of, all right, there's Ben Skoranek with a catch. That's fun. I don't know why he's getting more targets than Mike Williams is right now, but whatever. That was a 5th round pick well spent. So hopefully at some point we see more shots to Mike Williams, more usage of Mike Williams. I'm kind of not going to hold my breath on that anymore, just because nothing that we've seen since he's been acquired will attest to that will happen.
And ain't that kind of like Mike Williams' whole career, waiting
kinda
for people to use him more?
I mean, with the Chargers, it's just a matter of, all right, when he's having a big season, you always get hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, with the Jets,
It's like, is he going to play? Are we going to use him when he plays? Like,
which, by the way, it would have been really great if he would have just went to Pittsburgh in the offseason. He had a visit to Pittsburgh scheduled 2 days before he signed with the Jets, or 2 days after he signed with the Jets, and obviously that didn't happen because he signed with Pittsburgh. So, this would have been a lot easier if you just came here in the first place, Mike.
I don't even know why he went with the Jets.
I don't know, bro. Money, because they offered him a lot of money. In terms of the defense, though, like I said, I think TJ plays. And we've seen, like, Nick Herbig had a big game against Baltimore earlier this year. They now have Preston Smith in the fold. Patrick Queen had a big game against Baltimore earlier this year, and he's going to need a bounce back game because he did not have a good game against Philadelphia. We'll see with Deshaun Elliott. I think that quietly, if he doesn't play, that's a problem, just because of what he does all over the defense, both in the defensive backfield and when they use him as a run defender in the box. He's been very good this year at both, and kind of being their Swiss Army knife at safety. He's been their best safety this year. Like, no shade to Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's just Deshaun Elliott's made more of the impact plays. And I understand that Minkah can only do so much when he doesn't get thrown at all that much, but like, you're getting paid all that money. I need to see some splash plays every now and then, Minkah. We haven't had one in a long time. So Deshaun Elliott's played really well. I hope to see him in the game. I found out today that James Pierre and Lamar Jackson are cousins, apparently. That's exciting, I guess. We'll see if Dante Jackson plays. He's got a pinched nerve. So they're dealing with some defensive injuries, but I do think that the biggest one being Watt, I think he's going to play. And it's going to be what the Steelers always try to do in terms of containing Lamar Jackson, containing the run, and making the Ravens beat them with the passing game, which they haven't necessarily been able to do. So if that continues to work, then yeah, I fully expect the Steelers to win this game. I'm going to pick them to win this game, because until the trend is broken and we see something change in terms of Lamar winning this game, I'm not going to pick it to happen. So he's beat them once. It was back in 2019 as well against Duck Hodges, after Mason Rudolph almost Earl Thomas knocked out Mason Rudolph on the field and Duck Hodges came in. So it's been a minute since Lamar's won this game, and I'm going to keep picking Pittsburgh until that trend's broken.
Yeah, it's kind of in that territory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think So for me, look, the last game was very close. There was a couple plays here that the Ravens in general won back, right? Like that, not Payne Wilson. What is your linebacker's first name?
Peyton Wilson, yeah, the interception, that was pretty sick.
Yeah, that was a great interception, but that's one one of very few interceptions Lamar has thrown. But it was a great play by him. That is the type of play you want. You usually go for. By the way, Hill needed to fight for that ball a little bit more. Nothing taking away from Wilson, but that's what you usually put on Pat Queen, right? Those is where you want Pat Queen because that's where you don't he doesn't excel. This game is gonna be, I agree, 3 points or less. Whoever wins was gonna win for 3 points or less. So yes, take Steelers +6. I don't know how this line is so large. Lamar's due, way past due. There's two teams that Lamar has not played well career-wise, and if we're honest, he has played worse against the Steelers than he has played against the Chiefs. The Chiefs usually just beat us, and they ended up winning, right? Like if you go and think about that early season game against the Chiefs, it wasn't like Lamar did not play well. Henry didn't play well. They were trying to figure out that running game, but Lamar didn't play bad. But the Chiefs just ended up beating us. Against the Steelers, I will argue that he didn't have a bad game. There's a lot of turnovers by the Steelers. It wasn't luck turnovers, right? Like Herbert going behind Henry and punching that ball out, and then the pick by Hill. So like those obviously were momentum shifts because those ended up being points on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were touchdowns. No, definitely the Steelers didn't score a touchdown in that game, correct, Jared?
Yeah, the 6 field goals.
Yeah. So, but definitely those move the needle when you lose by 2 points. So those are the things that they need to clean up. This is a game that the Ravens need to come in and say, like, look, we can't have a lot of turnovers, or not a lot. We cannot have turnovers. They are not a team that pushes a lot of turnovers. Lamar has barely thrown any picks. The other part that they should not do, but that is harder, is not do stupid penalties. Am I gonna say that they're not gonna do that? No, that's what they've been doing all year, and that can cost you games, right? So they need to play a fairly clean game, but especially on turnovers. And the turnovers would flip the game either way. Pressure Wilson. They got to Wilson 4 times last game, 4 sacks plus all the other pressures, but they got to Wilson 4 times. Pierce is back for this game, so that helps also against the run game. As Q alluded, the Steelers running game hasn't been playing well. In the case of the Ravens, they haven't run Henry as much. He still have a high clip per carry, but I think last game he only rushed 14. Everything is set up here for the Ravens. If they're gonna win, this is your game. You're more rested. The Steelers come from that tough game against the Eagles. You come not only against the Giants. You were in a bye week the week before. The team played 3 quarters. Well, the starters played 3 quarters coming up to this week. This is the game again. Set it up for you at home against the Steelers. You're more refreshed. Go ahead.
Are you worried about your kicking situation though?
Oh, I'm always worried. That's the other thing I was gonna say. If it is a 3rd and 3 for a field goal that usually be 45 plus, go for it. And you guys know I'm not like go for it and no, you're
you never like going for it in point territory.
But the problem is right now with Tucker, you cannot trust if he's gonna make it. So if you think it's right now so bad that he might not make it, just go for it. Just go for it. Again,
I gotta say, I would much rather that the Steelers win with like a like on a last second drive and Minka gets a pick. That would just fill me with joy rather than like Tucker just missing a kick. I've seen Tucker miss enough kicks this year, especially against Pittsburgh. He did it twice.
I think it'd hit different for you, Jared, if it was a game losing field goal kick that just.
I mean, it would be great, but I would certainly prefer it to be like, it's like 20-14, and they're inside like the 30, and Lamar just throws a heart-shattering pick to Minka Fitzpatrick. That would make me feel a lot better.
I would.
Nothing generates more dismayed faces that the camera can zoom in on than like missing a pretty makeable.
That too. I'll say this: if it's like a 26-yarder and he shanks it, that would be hilarious.
Oh, so and it's like it has to be one of those like, doom, like it just
Yeah.
goes off. It looks like a
Loud
penalty
ass
kick,
joint.
right?
Yeah.
Where it just goes straight sideways off the foot,
Yeah.
and then it just smacks, and you just go, and the announcer's just fucking quiet because they cannot believe what just happened here.
Yeah, because Tyler Bass missed a 24-yarder against Detroit for Buffalo this past Sunday, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, like this dude
Bucker
is so bad."
kicked one that was 24 yards wide.
Yeah,
left?
Bucker shanked one too. So yeah, that would be fun.
So the other thing that quietly the Ravens have been better is on defense. They play well against the Steelers, right? Again, it took the Steelers to produce 2 turnovers. There were field goals, and Tucker missing 2 field goals for the Ravens to lose by 2 in Pittsburgh. They play well against the Chargers defensively. They play well against the Eagles. Saquon broke that 1 touchdown at the end, right? That they ended up winning the game. And the Giants is whatever. I'm not gonna hear just claim, oh, they played good against the Giants. But defensively, the what?
I was about to say defensively, you relying on Roquan Smith in a big game, and when has that ever worked out for y'all?
Roquan missed like a game and a half, and you can notice that difference during that game. But anyway, again, this is a game you have to make the Steelers one-dimensional, right? They haven't been running well. You cannot come here and they're just running all over you. If they do that, then play action will happen, and then you see George Pickens. This is a game also that I would like to see Humphreys on Pickens one-on-one, right? One thing that, as I was mentioning, how the defense has done better, they changed Kyle Hamilton to more of the safety role to help in the back end. That has produced a lot of good, less miscommunication. I also said that the Ravens were playing a lot of zone where there were a lot of blown coverages. They changed to more of a man scheme. That's not that they don't play zone at all, but they play more man, and that has helped because they have the corners to keep up. Now, my guy Stevens, he glues to the receiver on man coverage greatly. The problem is when the ball comes, he doesn't turn around, so he gets a PI. So I don't want to see Stevens on Pickens at all. Put him whoever else, but not on Pickens. I want to see Humphrey. I wouldn't mind to see Wiggins on him, but I would like to see Humphrey. On the other side, I'm assuming Joey Porter will take Bateman. I can see how Joey Porter could neutralize Bateman, although Bateman has the highest percentage rate of separation in the league. I can see Joey Porter. That is a good matchup. Like that type of receiver, I think Joey Porter thrives. I don't think he thrives against, Zay Flowers.
He thrived against Zay Flowers last time they played.
Yeah. He had a good game against Zay, right? The offense, our offense didn't have a good game.
I think that's going to be the matchup. I don't think they're going to put Porter on Bateman.
Do you know how light Zay Flowers going to feel after he took that ass whooping from A.J. Brown last week? And you know how much slower he going to feel after going up against Devontae Smith? He going to be like, thank God it's a regular human. Like,
well, the one thing, I don't know who the officiating crew is. I always say with Joey Porter, that is big. If it is an officiating group that it allows to grab a little more, then Joey Porter will be fine. If it is a officiating crew that likes to throw the flags on holding and pass interference, it's gonna be bad for Stevens. As for the Ravens, Stevens, the corner, but also for Joey Porter because again, and in the case of Stevens, if he's on Pickens, he won't be able to keep up. So he likes to grab. And the same thing with Joey Porter if he goes against a guy like Zay Flowers. I want to see them. I think they rested after the Eagles game. Basically, they said, okay, Henry, you're not going to catch Saquon. Let's lower your carries for now. We're going to use you more in bigger games. I think this is a Henry game and a Justice Hill game because, again, in the passing game, I can see them trying to put Justice Hill in a one-on-one matchup against Pat Queen. I think that it's going to be a good game, but it's up to Lamar. No turnovers, no fumbles, no interceptions. Those are big. After the game against the Eagles, Lamar Jackson received a funny phone call from his mom, and saying like, hey, you need to run more, right? And then he came against the Giants and ran more, but it's the Giants. But I can see him also doing this against the Steelers. And what I'm saying that is, you have been seeing a Lamar Jackson that even when he's escaped out of the pocket, he's looking downfield. I love it. But sometimes he has just so much green in front of him. And I'm like, dude, you need to run, right? And if that happens, then you can see ball movement and chain moving on that. Again, great game. I'm going to be the lone wolf here. I'm going to pick the Ravens 21-18 over the Steelers. Great game if you're not a Steelers or Ravens fan. I only just say that because if you are the fan base, you're there, you're tied because the game. But this should be a good game. It should be a game of the type of games that I like, where the defense play well. That it's not. I'm not gonna lie. That game Detroit Buffalo, that's not a game that I enjoy. I enjoy that for like a half, and then I'm like, okay, what is this? I'm bored. So I like more defensive strategy games, more good matchup. So I think it's gonna be a good matchup. I wouldn't pick the Ravens in the line, but I would say Ravens win by 3 in this game.
I'm interested to see if they actually do try to replicate some of what Philly did successfully against them and include like running Lamar a bit more, because what Philly ran Jalen Hurts 15 times in that game.
I mean, a lot of it was like short yardage stuff, but
yeah, but just to keep the ball just to keep the ball in your possession and the ball in play, right? Like just continue to drain out a clock, which might be the strategy against Pittsburgh, to kind of just like melt them out and then they play the odds game with like how many drives can Russ actually score on, what's his score percentage going to be. If you give him a ton of drives, he's going to put up points. It might be a strategy. I just don't know if the Ravens are like equipped to do it.
Well, if you wanna bet on other things, Lamar's never had a start against Pittsburgh where he hasn't thrown at least one interception. So if you want to bet anytime interception for Lamar Jackson, yes. I don't know what the odds are. I don't have them in front of me, but I'm sure that'll probably hit.
Definitely a half interception somewhere.
Also, the Eagles won the AFC North.
Yeah, they swept us.
Oh, did they beat every team in the AFC North this year? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they dominated this. They dominated the Ravens. They beat the Steelers pretty convincingly. They beat the
Browns. Yeah, they did. Good for them.
They almost lost to the Browns, but
the Browns was the closest.
Yeah, and then did they play the Bengals yet, Ace?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was an ass whooping.
Oh yeah.
Was that ass whooping?
What ass whooping?
It didn't start off that way.
30
about the Eagles?
Yeah.
Eagles? Oh yeah, Eagles was an ass whooping. It didn't start off as an ass whooping.
It was
one of them. It was one of them ones where it's like,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because it was like close in the first half, and then you check back, and it was like, damn.
You know when you got your ass whooped back in the day, and it's like you started off and you got a little bit of that whooping, and then it was like your parents was like, take your clothes off, and then it got real. Yeah, it was like
take your extra pairs of drawers off, right?
Yeah. You tried to put 2 layers of clothes on. Try to put 2 layers of clothes on, so you tried to fake it like
you try to wear jeans, try to get away with it with some basketball shorts under it.
Now the Browns lost by 4.
Jared is like, what the hell is going on?
What the hell happened in y'all's houses growing up? Jesus Christ. God damn.
Is Jared the only one, Sonny? You didn't get spanked when you was a kid?
I mean, I got spanked a few times, but like it wasn't.
Come on,
you didn't get the okay.
I did. What are you talking about?
Did you get the wooden spoon, Jared? Don't tell me you was a wooden spoon.
No, it was just a hand.
Oh, you got the hand. That's so easy, hand. Man. Oh my God. Bad. Yeah. My dad had a belt for the whipping. Like it was loose and shit. Yeah, it was a long, just loose belt. He never wore that shit to no wedding. Like ready.
Yeah,
he got the up with the
Indiana Jones type of shit.
Yep. Bring it out like he got a bucket. Like, oh yeah.
Jared, you don't understand. When you hit somebody with a belt when they have something like this on, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt as bad.
It don't hurt until you get that. Yep,
skin contact.
The cotton does a lot, right? So you try to wear basketball shorts. It's probably a good thing we don't do this no more, right? Let me prefix this by saying
sounds like something that's probably not great.
Yeah. Jared turned out fine. He didn't deal with any of this, right? Like,
I mean, good for y'all. I mean, it seemed to
But like Jared learns something new every show.
I do. It's great. I like being I like learning new things about how y'all do your stuff and how it's very light.
What do you guys think is the fan vote for this game?
Oh, it's got to be. I think Pittsburgh's been winning a lot of these votes. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh winning the fan vote about 63%.
How about you, Ace?
I think this is gonna be close because I think both of these guys kind of duke it out. But I think the Steelers have the slight edge, so I'm going to go Steelers 51%.
How about you, Jared?
I think the Ravens probably won the fan vote, but I'm still I'll pick in Pittsburgh.
Steelers 55.
Oh wow!
Last 3 polls, Steelers have been winning them.
And the Steelers fans have showed up. It's like every time the Steelers play a road game, you swear they none of their fans there until they go up by 14. You're like, where the fuck all these cows come from? Y'all were here in the first quarter, like.
I'm excited, man. Like I said, I wish it wasn't on Fox. I think that's dumb. But
Brady, maybe.
yeah, I mean Brady's fine. I think he gets a little bit too much hate. I think he's
You
fine.
like Romo and Nance?
Romo, the shine of Romo is very much like dragged for me. Like I don't mind Romo, but like 2024 Romo doesn't hit the same as like 2019 Romo.
Yeah, when he started. Yeah.
I usually just zone out the play-by-play. So like as long as you don't say something that makes me notice that you're doing your job, I'm usually good. That's probably why like the non sequitur people kind of bug me more because like I'll just be watching Thursday Night Football but Al Michaels just said so. I'm like, why the fuck am I paying attention to Al Michaels right now? It's like
that's Jared's boy.
I love Al. If I could pick who I would want commentating on this game, it would probably be Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. I think that they're the best overall team for CBS. I love Nance. Like I think Nance is the best in the world in terms of play-by-play, but Romo's kind of dragged a little bit for me. I think Kevin Harlan's really good. He does it with Trent Green. I think they're a good team. So there's a lot of different guys I would have personally liked to see for it.
Unpopular opinion, I'm going to put a limb out there. I think Joe Buck does a really good job.
Joe Buck kicks ass. I love both. Buck and Aikman.
Everybody used to hate Joe Buck, but I'm like, nah, he's actually pretty solid, man. Like he's pretty good.
I think Buck and Aikman kick all the ass, and I think the fact that they've done it I think they've done it longer than any duo ever. Shame
that they're on Monday Night Football because I watch it now.
Yeah, like I think they're trying to make Monday Night Football mean something again. So they got the first half of it right. They got the good broadcast team. Now start giving us games that actually mean something.
Well, the game quality has gotten worse with Monday Night Football.
That's what I'm saying. Like start giving good games. I want them to get back onto
like a network and do that 4 o'clock thing. Like because like Brady, I think would feel better if he was only doing if he was doing like the 8 o'clock game. I think he would feel a little bit better in that like NBC booth. Where it's just like, okay, he can add a couple things to it, but on the Fox 4 o'clock move, he just ain't got it. Like, I don't know. Like, he just don't add enough to justify his entire presence there. And the same thing goes with Romo, where it's like, okay, he was calling out plays at the beginning, and that was like,
yeah, cute, like it was cute at first, and now, like, I feel like Romo just talks too much when he doesn't need to, and he's like, bro, like, just let things.
He feels like a star, right? Like he feels like I'm the guy.
Yeah, it kind of fucked him up, right? Because now he's taking 50 pass attempts when he was always like, just throw 30,
Yeah. Right.
But every time he's like, oh, watch this safety here, and it's like nothing happens. It's like, all right, Tony, you don't need to call out everything.
I'll say this too, like I think Tirico and Collinsworth are awesome too. I know that Collinsworth is like you either like him or you don't. I like Collinsworth. I think he's great.
I think they're boring. Like I don't know.
I love Tirico.
Football's presentation is just boring to me.
Really?
Yeah, it makes me. I think this has nothing to do with them. I think this has everything to do with the fact that like I used to fall asleep and hear Sunday Night Football in the background as a kid. So like it just makes me sleepy by default. But like they don't have no colors on that broadcast. This be all dark and shit. Like they don't have nothing that like gets you excited. I'm like, man, they need to add some fun to that.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I take a nap during one football game every Sunday, and it's always in the second quarter of that Sunday night game, man. Like no matter how good it is, I'm like, it just don't feel juiced enough, But that 4 o'clock game, I'm locked in.
I think the Cardinals and Broncos, like if you're gonna nap at all, it's usually that 4 o'clock window when like Kyler Murray and the Cardinals only have like 16 points somehow, and they're in a dogfight with like the Colts.
And why do we have this hour between the end of the 4 o'clock window and the start of the 8 o'clock game?
Oh, you got to have football night in America.
Nah, fuck that game. I agree. Doesn't break any news. It's just a highlight show. Everybody has the internet now. Just go straight to the 8 o'clock game, man. Just roll right into it. It is the least important pregame show.
100% agree with you. And nobody on that show, like I don't tune into Football Night in America to see any of them. Like, yeah, dude, Jason Garrett scares the piss out of me. I don't know about
Drew Brees is on there, right? Like,
no, Drew Brees was a few years ago. He's not anymore. It's Maria Taylor hosted. Maria Taylor's cool, I guess. But then it's Chris Sims and Jason Garrett. Like, I feel like Chris Sims and Jason Garrett could star in like a horror movie about a father and son who kill people. Does that make sense? I feel like they could fit that mold. And then Matthew Berry's there because he's at NBC now. So
it's just such a boring array. Like, that's the thing. Mike Tirico's not bad. Chris Collinsworth's not bad, but they're just not an exciting group to have there, right? At least Al Michaels had that exciting voice.
Right.
Like you watch Sunday Night Football and you're just bored out of your mind because it's just such a boring package with just these boring people presenting you the game. And I'm like, I've never seen a broadcast that needs Jameis Winston on it more than the NBC.
Stop trying to make Jameis Winston in the booth happen. I will say,
they need some excitement.
Go back and watch the end of the Rams-Lions playoff game because Tirico's from Detroit, so he's like getting super into it at the end, and it was really awesome. So I'm a big Tirico guy.
I need some consistent excitement in that booth, man. They need to add a unknown element in there because I just be bored. It's so textbook solid. Like it is the New England Patriots of broadcast teams, but that shit is boring, dog. Like,
the San Antonio Spurs of the Tim Duncan era. In 188, great team, but never excited. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, best rivalry in football. I have a hot take there, but we'll leave it for another day. Noah Stone 12 says, how much will Tom Brady being there affect the Steelers? Noah Stone never
Tom Brady effect.
Never say. You don't know this year, but the Noah Stone is the Tom Brady super shatter for us. He'll find a way to interject Tom Brady to the conversation.
It's like a trickle-down effect thing, though, because Lamar's like 1 of 10 in the last 5 years against the Steelers. And then the Steelers, they ain't never beat Tom Brady. So, like, how does this trickle? This is going to somehow result in the Browns losing 2 games this weekend is the only way that I can see it, right? Like, this is the only way it ends is that the Browns also lose during the 4 o'clock window when they're not even playing.
I think I could tell you all the times the Steelers beat Tom Brady because it's not many. They did it in 2004, Ben's rookie year. They did it in 2010. I think that was the year they did it because the game where at the end they're like doing the cow lateral shit.
11-0 year, right? The 11-0 year.
They didn't play it in the 11-0 year.
And the 11-0 year was 2020, right?
Yeah.
That Tom was gone by then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't in New England. So I think 2010 was the year where Polamalu made a play. Like there was a fumble and Troy comes like running in and just punches it backwards and it goes for a safety. So they won that game. I want to say it was 2010 or 2011, one of those 2 years. And then they beat them in 2018, the year that they ended up missing the playoffs anyway, so it didn't mean anything. And then they beat them in 2022 in Tampa Bay with Trubisky. There you go.
Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky.
Okay, we'll be back here next week, my guys. We'll be recapping this. The last super chat here, real quick. What hot take, Sonny? Did you disagree? Okay, I'm gonna say this real quick. I don't want to put a tangent. I think they're the most equally, like these games are always down to the 3 points or whatever. But for me, and this is a hot take that is gonna, yes, Raven fans, come at me. A rivalry is when there's a give and take of wins. When you lose 9 out of your last 10, it stops being a rivalry.
Real quick.
Damn, you giving them the
I
Browns.
don't know if you guys have checked out the latest video, but I have created a new term for the fake big booty beatdown. It's a BBL. So if it's not a real,
that's good. That's good.
It's a BBL.
It's a BBL.
The big booty letdown.
Yeah.
Is Lamar Jackson on a BBL alert? BBL Jackson? Is that what we about to get?
No.
He's gonna take a page out of Jalen Hurts book and get that BBL.
BBL Jackson.
No. Anyway, we'll see y'all next week. Until then, peace out.